ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mahiling, pero sa sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, kuya ka ng magiting, sa handulugin, di ka pasisitin, sa nagatang tutok sa simulan, sa langit ng bagang, ay hinatang tulad, awit sa pagkayang minamahal, ang isang lang matawad mo'y tagumpay na naghihiling, ang bituin at karonya, kailan pa may maghihiling, lupa ng araw ng walhagit pagsinta, buhay ang langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na pagkay mga api, at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty Father, we are gathered here today with a shared mandate to steward the nation's resources with wisdom, foresight, and integrity. As we deliberate on measures that shape economic behavior, productivity, and sustainability, grant us the clarity of thought to assess data objectively, discernment to balance innovation with equity, and courage to pursue reforms that deliver long-term value for our people. Guide our discussions on frameworks that modernize trade, optimize the use of time, and transition our economy towards circular regenerative systems. May the decisions we make today be anchored on evidence and best available science, inclusive growth, and the common good, responsive to present realities, yet resilient to future challenges. Align our perspectives, strengthen our collaboration, and keep us focused on outcomes that uplift communities, enhance competitiveness, and safeguard the future of every Filipino. We entrust this meeting to your guidance that our work today may translate into sound policy, sustainable impact, and national progress. Amen. Amen.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Representative Ana Veloso Tuazon, for your impactful prayer. Let's all be seated. We now proceed to the calling of the roll.
Mr. Chair, I move to dispense with the calling of the roll. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion and duly seconded, and there being no objection, the calling of the roll is hereby dispensed with. Copies of the minutes of the meeting dated November 24, 2025 have been distributed to the members prior to this meeting.
Mr. Chair, I move to dispense with the reading of the minutes and for the approval of the same. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hearing none, the motion is carried. The minutes of the meeting dated November 24, 2025 is hereby approved. I would like to acknowledge the presence of the members with us today. From the 6th District of Bulacan, our Vice Chairperson, Honorable Salvador Plato. From the 3rd District of Leyte, our Vice Chairperson, Deputy Majority Leader Ana Victoria Veloso Tuazon. From the 2nd District of Zamboanga del Norte, Honorable Irene Labad-Labad, Vice Chairperson. Kindly manifest your presence in case this chairperson failed to recognize you. May I now direct the committee secretary to acknowledge our resource persons and guests present in this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. We have the following resource persons present in this meeting. From the Bangsamoro Planning and Development Authority, Chief Economic Development Specialist, Economic Intelligence Division, Ms. Darren D. Española. And from the Economic Intelligence Division, Economic Development Analyst, Ms. Fatima Shanuri P. Guro. From the Department of Economy, Planning and Development, we have Director 3, Mr. Bien A. Ganapin. From the Philippine Statistics Authority, we have Chief Statistical Specialist of the Trade Statistics Division, Ms. Maria Julieta P. Soliven. From the Department of Education, we have Mr. Mark Peter Magsalin of the Bureau of Curriculum Development. From the Department of Labor and Employment, we have Mr. Eric M. Gallardo from the Department Legislative Liaison Office. From the Department of Trade and Industry, we have Division Chief of the Research and Policy Division of the Investments Policy and Planning Service, Ms. Marian Jenelu Reyes. From the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, we have Bank Officer 5 from the Environmental, Social and Governance Supervision and Surveillance Group, Ms. Jolene Kuchapin. From the Department of Agriculture, we have the Director of the Bureau of Agriculture and Fishery Standards, Ms. Mary Grace Mandigma, and Engineer Abraham Perez III. From the Department of Budget and Management, we have Ms. Tricia Baraan. From the Department of Finance, we have the Deputy Executive Director from the Legal Group, Attorney Michael F. Ricaza. And also Chief Tax Specialist of the Tax Research Group, Ms. Roslyn C. Domo. From the Department of Science and Technology, we have Dr. Francis Baleta, STT Fellow. From the Governance Commission for GOCCs, we have from the Office of the General Counsel, Attorney Maria Lourdes M. Lobiano Alviola, and Attorney Ashley Faye S. Cruz. From the National Academy of Science and Technology, we have Dr. Lourdes Cruz. From the Public-Private Partnership Center, we have Director 4 of the Policy and Planning Service, Attorney Fibian Bell Ramos Lacuna. From the U.S. ASEAN Business Council, Inc., we have Senior Country Representative for the Philippines, Attorney Herminio III Bagro III.
And finally, from the United Nations Development Program Philippines, or the UNDP, we have Climate Action Program Team Member Ms. Gwen Palmos. Kindly inform the Secretariat in case your presence has not been recognized in this meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, COMSEC. So, to our distinguished members and authors, honorable ex-officio members, esteemed resource persons from our partner agencies, and representatives from the private sector, academe, and civil society, a pleasant morning to everyone. As we begin this new year and this meeting, allow me to take a moment to reflect on the significant accomplishments of our committee over the past year. Together, we have made substantial progress in addressing critical issues through legislative reforms. I'm confident that we will continue to build on these successes in 2026. Before we proceed with today's agenda, I want to acknowledge the hard work of all our members and committee staff. Your dedication and continued commitment are vital to advancing policies that safeguard our nation's future. By the end of 2025, we have held 4 regular committee meetings and 1 technical working group meeting, addressing a significant portion of the 75 House bills and 3 House resolutions referred to this committee. Notably, we successfully defended and passed on 3rd reading the Act to establish a framework for the blue economy, with 23 measures focused on this important initiative. Your contributions to advancing the economic welfare of our nation have been invaluable, and I look forward to another year of productive collaboration. As we move forward, we have 3 key topics that will guide in today's discussion. First, we will consider House Resolution number 230, which urges the Philippine Statistics Authority, or PSA, to develop a specialized economic survey framework to address the statistically blind spot affecting informal, cross-border trade, and multi-currency income and expenditure patterns, particularly in BARM provinces and similar areas. This resolution is critical for enhancing the economic visibility of these often overlooked communities. Next, we will discuss the proposed Daylight Saving Time Act, which seeks to empower the President to declare the adoption of daylight saving time in both the public and private sectors. This policy aims to improve energy use and productivity nationwide, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this potential impact. Finally, we will examine the proposed Circular Economy Act, which includes several bills promoting sustainable production and consumption. These bills encompass frameworks for waste minimization, producer responsibility, and circular procurement. As we confront climate change and work toward sustainable growth, these measures are essential for ensuring our economy remains resilient and future-ready. With the permission of our authors, I also propose that House Bill number 315, which was authored by Representative Javier Miguel Benitez, serve as the reference bill in the event these measures are consolidated in order to facilitate the passage of a substitute bill. With these important topics ahead, let us approach today's discussion with the spirit of collaboration and innovation as we continue to push for policies that will serve the best interest of the Filipino people. With that, I now open the floor for the presentation and input of our distinguished members and resource persons. Thank you. So let us now proceed to the first item in our agenda this morning, the consideration of House Resolution number 230. What I know, Representative Jason Almonte of the 1st District of Misamis Occidental is not present.
Mr. Chair, on behalf of Representative Jason Almonte, since the resolution is self-explanatory, I move that the resolution be adopted as his sponsorship speech.
Second.
Mr. Chair.
Others move to adopt the explanatory note as his sponsorship remark. So, and it's duly seconded. The motion is carried. We may now hear from our resource persons on the comments on the resolution. First, I would like to hear from the Bangsamoro Planning and Development Authority, or BPDA. You have the floor.
My courtesy and respect to the Honorable Chairperson of this committee, sir, and the rest of the committee members, in behalf of the Bangsamoro Director General Muhajirin Ali, I am representing our office. I am Ms. Darren Dial Española. And with that, we would like to extend our gratitude and thankful for inviting us for this very significant milestone where we consider the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, Mindanao, to provide inputs for this vital policy that really affects the economic performance of the Bangsamoro region. Mr. Chair, allow me to share our presentation. Okay. Next.
First of all, I'd like to laud you for your effort. I heard you just came from Mindanao. So
yes, Mr.
Thank you
Chair.
very much for your presence today.
Yeah, we just arrived yesterday. It's a long travel because from Cotabato we have to stop over in Cebu, then going here in Manila. But again, thank you so much for inviting the Bangsamoro region in Muslim Mindanao. Allow me, Mr. Chair, to go with my presentation.
Yes, you may proceed.
Thank you. With this presentation, the guideline, the outline, just also to give emphasis what are the legal basis in the supporting for this resolution, House Bill number 230, and also provide some context in terms of the economic performance of the BARM in its trend since 2014 to 2024, just to give appreciation on the significant shift of economic performance in terms of poverty incidence as well, where one of the factor is the informal economy or the barter trade in some areas of the Bangsamoro region, particularly in the island provinces of Tawi-Tawi, Basilan, and before it include Sulu as well. And what are the challenges in terms of informal economy that we are also facing? And what are the current initiatives that somehow provide inputs in pushing or support for this resolution? What are the opportunities as well as the recommendations? All of this data are sources from the PSA, as well as secondary data coming from our development partners, especially the Asia Foundation and the International Alert Researches, as well as our office efforts in conducting consultations, workshop and dialogues with the stakeholders. Next slide, please. Just to provide additional legal basis, aside from the reviving barter trade in Mindanao through the Executive Order number 64, series of 2018, which is, this is one of the milestone that the BARM should take as an advantage for this of this policy when that issue once give an opportunity to really give the chance to the Bangsamoro government in providing its power and exercise its authority over the barter trade. We know that barter trade is since it's part of the cultural and traditions of particularly people in Tawi-Tawi and Sulu, that is part of, since immemorial, cultural practice, the way how they conduct or how they're part of their livelihood and even their relationship in the neighboring countries like the Malaysia and Indonesia. And with that, there's also a power bestowed upon the Bangsamoro government through the Republic Act 11054 or the Bangsamoro Organic Law, which is part of the authority that matters without the prejudice to the general supervision of the President of the Republic of the Philippines is the barter trade and the counter trade, aside from other matters that reflects in terms of its functions and its power against all those economic opportunity. Next slide, please. And there's also provisions in the 11054 or the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the Regional Economy and Patrimony, the section number 26, especially the trade within the Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, or Philippine East Asian Growth, or the BIMP-YAGA, which is BARM, is the gateway of that trading, where the Bangsamoro government shall exercise authority and regulate the traditional barter trade with the neighboring countries and the member states, and also the counter trade with the said member. So not only in terms of trading from the products of the neighboring countries, but also counter trading to really maximize the trading and as well as the cross-border trading economic activities within these neighboring countries. And it's also stated in the Bangsamoro Administrative Code as enacted by the BARM to really emphasize the creation of the Bangsamoro Barter Trade Council. So it's there's also provisions in the EO 64. Once the BARM will be established its own autonomy, there's also a special section there that it will be the Bangsamoro government will have the mandate to accredit, to regulate, and supervise and harmonize all the policies and operations, programs, and activities of the barter trade in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. Next slide, please. And just to put context and vision, we know fact that the socio-economic transformation of the Bangsamoro government from decades of conflict to meaningful self-governance. After that, there's already a Bangsamoro Organic Law where the core driver of this is the peace and governance. there will already a vision to sectoral shift from economic performance and growth. So it's a long decades of conflict, but now they are enjoying the meaningful autonomy, particularly in governing its own territory and how to potentially maximize the economic shift of its resources. That includes the barter trade and the cross-border trading within the Bangsamoro and the BIMP-YAGA countries. Next slide, please. So just also to give a quick presentation, this is also sourced from the PSC data, just to see the GRDP, or the Gross Regional Domestic Product Annual Growth Rate of BARM. From the baseline, we consider the 2014, that was after long decades of armed conflict between 2000 and 2008 conflict. And we have this pre-pandemic performance. If you can see the data, there's a peak growth of the GRDP in 2017, which is around 7.5%. But there's also a negative when during the COVID time in 2020. But there's a significant milestone when after 1 year in 2021, there's a rebump of the economic of the GRDP growth rate, which is it go back to the 7.5, but there's a down trends of slowdown of the economic of the GRDP in 2021 and 2024. And currently we are looking at, although it means that it's just a slowdown, but we should be we should look into what are the factors affecting in the slowdown of this GRDP annual growth rate. Next slide, please. And just also to give context and provide also some inputs about the poverty incidence comparing the 2018, the 2021, and 2023. This is one of the significant transformation, because from 2018 is around 52.6% the poverty incidence among families, and during the BARM, which is started in 2019, so just around 2019, 2021, around 2 years of the Bangsamoro government, there's a decrease of 28.0%. It's almost doubled decrease of poverty incidence. And recently, the PSA released the data, it downs to 23.5%. But comparing it with the national poverty incidence, BARM is still the highest having this data. No? If the national have around more or less, I'm not quite sure, but 11 or 14, but BARM still the highest, no, in terms of the in region, because we are still 23.5% decrease of poverty incidence. In terms of the provinces, next slide, please. Comparing it by province, in the data of 2018 and 2021, if you could see, still in all provinces, still BARM has the highest poverty incidence by province. But if you could see the provinces covering the island provinces like the Tawi-Tawi, the Sulu, although Sulu is not part of now of BARM, but we still consider it because there's also still outside Bangsamoro communities recognized in the Bangsamoro Organic Law, and the Basilan areas. So although there's a decrease of poverty incidence, but still there are, like for example, in Tawi-Tawi, it's around 43%. It's increasing, no? And also in Sulu, only the Lanao del Sur have the significant drop, no, from 68% to 11.4%. So we have, if we see the trends beyond that numbers, there is still a lot of efforts to do how the BARM should really ensure that there will be sustainability of all the efforts in decreasing the poverty incidence in the region. Next slide, please. And these are the challenges in terms of the informal economy that we are facing. The availability of reliable data, considering that the percent share of population in the areas of Tawi-Tawi, Basilan, and before it's Sulu, are merely dependent on barter trade and cross-border trading activities. And there's also a conflicting interest between local traders and state enforcement because of there are some policies that need to address, especially on the importation and exportation, and of course, and also some of the memorandum circular from the BOC in terms of the vessels that will be used in trading in the BAMPIAGA. And there's also restrictive policies hindering the traditional exchanges because currently, if we say about barter trade, it's the definition basically is exchange of goods versus and goods. No, it's goods to goods exchanges. But in reality, on the ground, the existence of goods and currency. Like for example, if the Tawi-Tawi goes to Malaysia, no, of course they will use the ringgit. And if they go to Indonesia, they will use also the rupiah. So it's there's already a trading activities, not only the goods to goods, but we have to consider what's really the reality on the ground because this is part of their survival. This is the way of life, how they are trading, you know, this kind of activities. And there are also challenges in terms of informal trading because there's also a study from the International Alert on the vulnerability of this trading to be a shadow economy. No, because there's also definitions on the shadow if, like for example, the pernicious and the non-pernicious activity. That in the shadow it includes the smuggling and other illicit activities that is also happening in the cross-border areas in the Sulu archipelago. And the high trade costs leading to low profits and price inflation, considering that almost of the basic commodities in the areas of Tawi-Tawi are really coming from the Sabah, Malaysia. No, even all their, like for example, even their cooking oil, no, they are used to buy it from Sabah, Malaysia, rather than get domestically from here.
Yes.
Next.
Excuse me. No, what we notice, I think you're getting out of topic. You're not discussing about poverty. We really want to know about the gap between the cross currency. So you could just focus on that topic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so I will just skip some of the slides. Maybe we can just proceed to the three parts of last three slides because yeah. Next slide. Yeah. So for this, like, we just provide some cases example on how the multi-currency affects the economic performance of the area or even the household income, no, or the consumption, the food consumption. So, like for example, in the case of Tawi-Tawi, some of their household members are earning ringgit and also Indonesian rupee because some of the members are also employed in Sabah, and because there's no bank there or there's no Western Union, some of the family just give the remittances to their family is just through also exchange of trading. Like for example, if there's a family who is going there and they buy the commodities, they will just send their money, to their relatives and give it to their family. So that is one of the remittances process because there's no Western Union there, there's no bank there. So it's it's between the people itself who carry the money. So that is one where we consider as one of the remittances, no, of sources of the family, and barter trading as one of the major livelihoods. So the potential effect of this, if we are not able to capture the realities of the household, of the family poverty situation, example, because there's a questions there in terms of the sources, no, of the remittances, using the Malaysian ringgit or the Indonesian rupee as a savings of the family. So it will be captured during the FIES data collection. Next slide, please. And in terms of the food security and consumption pattern, there's a case example that the food consumption or source food of the people in that areas, particularly the basic goods like rice and oil, are really coming from the Sabah, Malaysia, and Indonesia. So we know that the food consumption in the Philippines is there's a standard food basket on the computation of that, and it will not be able to capture what's really the real consumption. There will be an misunderstanding, or there will be a representation in terms of the supply and demand of the area. The effect of that, like for example, if the prices coming from Malaysia and Indonesia in terms of rice and oil, it also affects on terms of the local prices there, because the conversion of the money. You are using peso, but they are also using the ringgit and the rupiah in buying that commodities in that neighboring countries. Then last slide, please. And also, number 3, the effect of the purchasing power, the foreign currency, because the communities use the multi-currency of the trading, like ringgit and rupiah, and sometimes it's a mixed peso, and also the goods. The dependent on the two foreign countries, no, mas malakas ang ringgit, halimbawa, for example, and versus the peso, as well as there will be also effect on the prices, especially on the tawi-tawi. So there will be a potential effect on the artificial inflation rate report, because we will not be able to capture the real prices because of that foreign currency. So I think, Mr. Chair, that's the end of my presentation. And the last part, that's what will be the effect. Of course, there will be effect on the misallocation of funds and possible understated opportunities for economic powerhouse because of barter trade and cross-border trading. So we need the data from PSA as a critical use and references to allocate substantial important projects, like for example, infrastructures on the port developments, no? Considering that there are bartered ports identified in the executive order, and also allocation for the social protection programs in terms of poverty alleviation. So that's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we proceed, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our representative from the 3rd District of Negros Occidental, Representative Javier Miguel Lopez Benitez. Now we could proceed with the next agency, PSA, Philippine Statistics Authority. The representative from PSA, you have the floor, ma'am.
Good morning. We would like to apologize, the PSA would like to apologize for not having a paper position prepared because of the late notice of this meeting only yesterday. But the PSA support the objective of the Committee for a strong data support for policy making. What the PSA can do first is to map the data requirement based on the need of the House of Representatives and other relevant agencies through available establishments and household censuses and surveys and administrative data sources. From this, we can identify the data gaps for the survey if necessary. Any additional survey require additional funding support for the PSA. So the PSA is in full support for this committee for a strong data support for policy making. So that's all po.
Okay, thank you. Again, before we proceed, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of our second district representative, our member of our majority of Sultan Kudarat, Representative Bella Vanessa Swansing. I'd also like to inform the committee that the Mindanao Development Council, Mindanao Development Authority couldn't make it to this meeting but has submitted a position paper, and I understand that it was already passed to the members of the committee. So, do we have any questions from our members of the committee on?
Mr. Chair, I would like to ask Ms. Espanol, if it's possible, do we have a rough estimate po of how many households are impacted or actually receive income through multi-currency in the BARM region, or kung meron po tayong data per province?
To be honest, ma'am, there's no data yet because it's, as one of the challenges, very difficult to really collect data about it. But in terms of, based on our consultations also with the local government, there are identified municipalities who are really practicing that. Like for example, in Tawi-Tawi, Bungao, the Sitangkay, the Panglima Sugala were considered as a barter hub in the province of Tawi-Tawi. So there are identified municipalities who are really practicing trading and multi-currency. But in terms of household, Madam Chair, apology for that. We're not yet able to provide data. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's it,
Mr. Chair, can I be recognized?
Yes, Kong Plato, you're recognized.
Meron lang akong gustong itanong sa ating Madam Espanola. How can Bangsamoro Planning and Development Authority support the contextualization of a specialized survey framework to ensure cultural appropriateness, community trust, and alignment with BARM development priorities? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bangsamoro Planning and Development Authority, we are also the counterpart of the DepDev in the region, and it is our mandate to really ensure that that the Bangsamoro Development agenda, or the BDP, is really aligned with the real situation on the ground in terms of its context. And with this, the BPDA could help in terms of utilizing the data coming from the PSA in terms of our planning, in terms of prioritizing also the interventions coming from the different offices or the ministries. We call it the ministries, particularly the Ministry of Trade, Investment, and Tourism, who is the mandate for the trade facilitations of this affected household or families who are involved in this kind of livelihood, and also supporting policies that somehow protect and ensure the proper support in terms of regulatory frameworks, so that they will be not able, these people will not be abused in this context of, we call shadow economy, that is also happening in that Sulu Archipelago, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that response. Isa pang tanong, Madam, what role could the Bangsamoro Planning Development Authority play in facilitating coordination with the LGUs and local institutions in BARM should a pilot survey be undertaken? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The role of BPDA in the local government units, as again, because BPDA is also the secretariat of the Bangsamoro Economic Development Council, or it's the counterpart of the RDC, the Regional Development Council, where the local government units, like the governors, are also members of the BEDC. The BEDC is chaired by the Chief Minister, and our office is the Secretariat. And we are also And one of that, the BEDC is also a coordinating body in all the socioeconomic development of the region. So every time that there will be critical data or critical programs that may affect within the local government, it is the platform to the Bangsamoro economic development or the dialogue mechanisms with the local government units. Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, now we have Representative Soon Singh. You have the floor.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Is there a representative from DTI here?
DTI. Yes, there's a representative from DTI.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ma'am, kasi po under, correct me if I'm wrong, under EO 64, 2018, under President Duterte, na established din po yung Mindanao Barter Council under the DTI. So, siguro po for the information of PSA, because we want to operationalize this this mechanism in which we can measure yung barter trade. I would assume, since the Mindanao Barter Council is tasked to basically steer policy in terms of barter trade in southern Philippines, they would have data on that. Would also like to, for the information of PSA, na this January, kaka-issue lang po nung memorandum circular ng Bureau of Customs tungkol dito sa barter trade. So it started on this 2026. That's for CMTA. Actually, medyo overdue na kasi 2016 pa dapat yan. Pero naka-issue sila this year. So kasi before the issuance of this circular, medyo muddy yung statistics in terms of barter trade within the area dun sa southern Philippines. So at least if we're going to work towards establishing this mechanism, then those two bodies, so Bureau of Customs and the Mindanao Barter Council under the DTI Secretary would be a good place to start. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do you need a... We'd like to call on DTI to respond to...
Yes, Madam, Mr. Chair and Representative Swansing, we will look into this, and to our knowledge, there are ongoing efforts on this, but we'll also double check on how it was operationalized as well, and follow up so that we can support PSA and our colleagues in the Bangsamoro towards the efforts to support them in determining cross-border information.
Thank you, ma'am. Follow up lang po, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
How many times a year does the Mindanao Barter Council convene? Kasi this is chaired under the DTI Secretary chairs it, but I think we have different representatives from different sectors also.
We're just checking with our colleagues, ma'am. We will check and get back to you.
Thank you.
That's okay. Any other questions from our members of the committee? I have a question for Ms. Espanola. Okay. From the perspective of BPDA, how does the current underrepresentation of the informal and the barter-based and multi-currency household income affect poverty, diagnostics, and targeting in BARM, particularly in Sulu and Tawi-Tawi?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Basically, there's no data yet saying on it, but it's more on anecdotal, Mr. Chair, because even like for example, Tawi-Tawi is not one of the poorest province before, no. But when it was started, we just also observe in terms of the shift of the poverty incidence in Tawi-Tawi way back 2021. So when we dissect what are the events that happened in Tawi-Tawi during that period is the cross-border closure. Meaning during the COVID time, there will be no trading activities because of the border closure in the BMPiaga, no, neighboring. There's a study from the World Bank that we also used how affects why the Tawi-Tawi increased its poverty incidence during that period, given that even in long before, they are not included as one of the poorest province. Actually, they are one of very small, no, around it's 7% poverty incidence, but now there are 2 digits, no, 30 and 40. So when we saw the trends and we examine what are the events that happened, one is the COVID time. So there is a closure border. It's very difficult for them to go in Zamboanga just to buy foods. Because it's around how many hours just when they go to Sabah, it's very close to the proximity of their area, and it's easy for them to buy goods there. But there's a closure of the borders during that time, and even their livelihood. The seaweeds farmers not able to trade their seaweeds produced during that time. So we have now currently the BPDA is again conducting a thorough, in-depth study. What's really the effects in terms of livelihood? Because if it happen again, if there is another disruptions that will affect on their livelihood, particularly seaweeds growers or seaweed farmers are merely dependent only in one livelihood, and also the trading activities that is happening where their basic commodities like the rice and the oil and the other commodities through trading activities. What if there's another, we're not expecting that, but if there's any disruptions, it will affect in terms of their livelihood and in terms of their food consumption pattern, Mr. Chair. So it's part of the PPDA to really look into that more data gathering as well, so that we'll be able to include it in our planning and policy making advocacy as well.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other comments from those present in this meeting? Yes, ma'am, from
the National Academy of Science and Technology.
Okay, ma'am, you have the floor.
The problem seems to be the lack of data to make decisions. And I was just wondering if we can coordinate with the Department of Education and harness the people at the higher education institutes in the BARM region so that those with like seniors in college can help in gathering data by making it a project, by making them projects of the students from the region. They can work on the community to gather, granular data for the community.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for your insight. Maybe Ma'am Española, if you can reply.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ma'am. Yeah, we will consider it, and we will work with the MBHTE, the Ministry of Basic Higher Education, especially because there's schools there and it's existing. So maybe we can propose them to include maybe on the profile of the students, the sources of livelihood of their parents as well. Thank you, Ma'am, for that. We will take.
I would also like to ask the representative from DepEd if you have any insight from this conversation, dialogue.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair. With regard to this House resolution, first we'd like to apologize that we did not prepare any specific item on this, but listening to the discussions, we believe that some key points from this resolution can actually be taken up in our classes so that it can be reinforced all throughout its operationalization in due time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Just
Rep.
quick
Songching.
questions. I'm sorry, I was late, so I wasn't able to make it to the presentation of the BPTA. But ma'am, yung mga tinatrade po ngayon na goods, they're not subject to tariffs, are they?
Just to put in record, that's why we identify shadow economy in this aspect, because it's based on also in our collaboration and working closely with the NICA, the National Intelligence Coordinating Agency, with the law enforcement. Yes, there are some of the goods that's supposed to be part of the import-export permit, and also regulatory approval. That's why we need also to really ensure regulatory framework for the barter trading. And that's why the BARM, through the Bangsamoro Trade Council, able to provide this memorandum circular to us as guidelines in partnership with the Bureau of Customs, because BOC is one of the major partner in terms of regulations supposed to be the commodities, who will be just allowed with the BIMPIAGA and as well as allowed based on the EO 64, because there are only allowable commodities identified in the EO 64, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair. That's one of the concerns that I think we have to discuss also, because the barter traders are not like large-scale enterprises. So if they're going to be subject to the same tariffs as like the rest of other goods that are subject to tariffs, then medyo at a disadvantage tayo dyan.
May I allow, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you may reply.
Yeah, based also on the guidelines, there are only like around 1 million to 3 million capital that's based on the memorandum circular that is free of tax. No? If they allow to trade within the barter trade ports, because there are only ports identified in the EO 64. If you are outside with that barter trade ports, you are now taxable. No, you are allowed to be taxed based also on the tax in the tariff, and the commodities that required, of course, with the Bureau of Quarantine, the Bureau of Plant Industry, they will still comply with all those requirements who are trading within that barter trade. So there are there's a guidelines that really used of these entrepreneurs who are really trading so that it will not be abused, Mr. Chair. And it will really serve those who are really small entrepreneurs in that specific areas in the Tawi-Tawi, Basilan, and Sulu. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's very good to hear, ma'am. Okay. Yes, no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I think there are no other questions.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the subject resolution, subject to style and amendments as manifested in this meeting, and its corresponding committee report, and further that all those present in this meeting be co-authors of the subject resolution. So move, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
So do I hear any objection? Hearing none, the said resolution and corresponding committee report is hereby approved. All members present in this meeting shall likewise be made co-authors thereof. We now move to the next item in the agenda, the initial deliberation on the House Bill number 145 from Honorable Eric Olivares.
Mr. Chair, on behalf of Representative Olivares, I move that the explanatory note for House Bill number 145 be adopted as sponsorship speech.
So
Again, Mr. Chair.
there's a move to adopt the explanatory note as his sponsorship remark, and it is duly seconded. The motion is carried. May we now hear from our resource persons on comments or inputs on this said measure. From the Department of Economic and Planning and Development, DepDev.
Good morning. Yes, sir. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chair and honorable committee, and to colleagues in the government and the private sector. For the DepDev, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, we recognize the proposed bill as it seeks to adjust the Philippine Standard Time with the intention of offsetting disruptions caused by extreme weather conditions and aiming to enhance the country's productivity and educational outcomes. While the goal is commendable, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, we have concerns about the appropriateness of implementing a DST system given the country's geographic and socioeconomic circumstances. For instance, the country's proximity to the equator and the variations in day and night lengths throughout the year, we think that would result in minimal impact on productivity, meaning the daylight saving time mechanism is usually more effective if there are huge variations during the year in terms of the daylight and nighttime in a given day or in a given year. But in the case of the Philippines, we almost have the same length of daylight throughout the year, in terms of the number of hours. So this is also supported, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, by studies that indicated that the DST are most substantial, or its impact is more substantial in countries with extensive daylight hours during summer and limited daylight hours during the winter time. So these benefits will decrease as a particular country is closer to the equator. So with respect to the impact on economic activity and productivity, studies also suggest that there is negligible long-term economic benefits, and this DST, if applied to the country, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, could potentially affect negatively to productivity by requiring workers to adjust to earlier schedules. So there are challenges in waking up significantly earlier. So these are the types of effects to productivity that may be induced by implementing a DST. So that would complicate and add cost burden for businesses. So, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, I think given our current circumstances, economic circumstances, there are alternative measures that we can actually implement. Like, for instance, in the case of the private sector, we can implement flexible working arrangements that is already provided under Republic Act 11165 or the Telecommuting Act. And in terms of the education sector, we think if we can strengthen the implementation of the asynchronous classes, can address disruptions caused by inclement weather. So that's all for now. I'll stop here, Mr. Chair, and we'll also be submitting if our written comments if needed, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. May we also ask from the Department of Education to reply?
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Maybe to the point of the previous speaker, we'd like to, of course, share our position paper for this House resolution. The Department of Education expresses its concurrence with House Bill number 145, which seeks to allow the adoption of daylight saving time as a measure to address learning disruptions and productivity losses caused by climate-related interruptions, particularly during the rainy season. The proposal is aligned with the state's constitutional mandate to ensure access to quality education and to adopt responsive strategies that safeguard instructional time and learning continuity. As we all know, our schools have actually been affected by so many disruptions as a result of climate change, and we recognize that these frequent class suspensions due to adverse weather conditions have significantly reduced effective teaching and learning hours. The proposed adjustment of the Philippine Standard Time during the dry season presents a practical and adaptive option to optimize daylight hours, potentially improving school attendance, instructional delivery, and overall learner engagement without altering curriculum standards or academic requirements. Subject to the formulation of clear implementing guidelines, Mr. Chair, and close coordination with education stakeholders and even technical working group, DepEd would like to manifest its support for the passage of House Bill number 145 as a flexible, system-level intervention that may contribute to mitigating learning losses and enhancing the resilience of the basic education system in the face of climate variability. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Department of Labor and Employment.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yes, you have the floor.
The department acknowledges the importance of House Bill number 145, which is to address the productivity challenges faced by educational institutions and the general workforce in the public and private sectors during the rainy seasons. In this regard, Mr. Chair, we have already submitted our comments to the committee. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next is Department of Trade and Industry.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, as well as my fellow colleagues in the government. So the Department of Trade and Industry, similar to DepDev, also holds reservation on the proposed House bill, since implementing a DST may not necessarily lead to any increase in the work hours or productivity in the Philippine setting, given the daylight hours remain constant in the Philippines. Moreover, the DST is found to have detrimental effects to the health and public safety. So, as DepDev has mentioned earlier, there have been studies that state that nations along the equator and in tropical regions typically do not practice DST because of the constant daylight hours. And it is also stated that there are adverse short-term impact on private life and working life in DST. In fact, this is more appropriate as an energy conservation measure in countries in the northern and southern hemispheres. That is all, Mr. Chair. I believe we have already submitted our comments to the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before we proceed, I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of our Deputy Majority Leader from the 1st District of Capiz, Representative Ivan Howard Ginto. Anyone from our members of the committee who would like to ask questions regarding the daylight saving time? So anyone from our member of the committee would like to ask questions?
Good, Chair. May I ask a quick question?
Yes, Representative Benitez.
Chair, I understand that I think when we talk about climate change and productivity loss, I just wanted to ask what the resource persons think about why not we pursue flexible academic calendars or infrastructure investment or remote learning frameworks instead. it seems that adjusting the clock may not have a causal relationship in solving this problems. No. Thank you.
Maybe we could ask a representative from DepDev and DepEd to reply to that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think, Mr. Chair, the suggestion is can be supported, Mr. Chair. I think that's more effective. We think, like if you recall, Mr. Chair, and some time ago we implemented we adjust the academic calendar. The idea is that we wanted to shift the academic calendar so as not to coincide with the weather, no? So yun po yung ginawa, no? I'm not sure kung what's the impact of that. Maybe there are some studies made by DepEd or CHED on the impact of those policies. But we think, Mr. Chair, if you adjust it by only 1 hour, and for at least to address it will not address the weather situation, the weather disturbance, if you're just only adjusting it to just 1 hour. Thank you, po.
Okay, thank you for that. Maybe we'd like DepEd also to reply.
Mr. Chair, permission to be recognized.
Yes,
maybe
you're
just
recognized.
to the points of Congresswoman Congressman Javi Benitez, and from DepDev. We have yet to, of course, look at the significant data on how this will affect our operations. So as you know, we have schools that operate on a shifting basis, and that alone will entail probably some significant study, so as to assess the impact of this proposed resolution, among other things. No, we have already shifted to the June calendar, and that has helped a lot in terms of mitigating the effects of summer in our classrooms. No, but in support of what Congressman Benitez mentioned, we would like to endeavor to, of course, look into the details so that we can study it better and provide a more opinionated response to this. Thank you.
Thank you for your insight. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the subject measure subject to style and amendments, including those from the Committee on Appropriations on the funding provisions and its corresponding committee report, and further that all those present in this meeting be made co-authors of the subject measure. So move, Mr. Chair.
I would indulge us to Rep. Laban-Laban. I'm sorry, but I think Rep. Benitez still has a follow-up question.
Apologies. Maybe I'll just put it on the record for all. Maybe we should also study why the Philippines had it in the 1990s and the reason why it was discontinued back then. What changes is different in our circumstances today compared to that of the 1990s? I think that's something to be studied for the committee, Chair. That's all. Not really a question, but yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, again, I move to approve the subject measure subject to style and amendments, including those from the Committee on Appropriations on the funding provisions and its corresponding committee report, and further that all those present in this meeting be made co-authors of the subject measure. So move, Mr. Chair.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Any objections? Hearing none, the measure and the corresponding committee report is hereby approved. All members present in this meeting shall likewise be made co-authors thereof. Before we continue, I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of our 4K party list representative, Representative Iris Marie de Mesa Montes. On the last item in our agenda today, we deliberate on the proposed Circular Economy Act. Last Congress, this measure was approved on the committee level, but remained pending with the Committee on Appropriation at the close of the 19th Congress. May we now invite the Honorable Javier Miguel Lopez Benitez of the 3rd District of Negros Occidental to deliver his sponsorship remarks. Kong Benitez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, distinguished colleagues and our resource persons, allow me to express my sponsorship for this measure. The linear economy has served humanity well, but its logic of take, make, and dispose has reached its limits. The Philippines generates 61,000 metric tons of solid waste daily. It contributes disproportionately to ocean plastic pollution and remains highly vulnerable to the climate disruption this system accelerates. Unfortunately, we are ranked #1 in microplastic and plastic pollution in the world. So this bill before the committee represents this recognition that we need a different economic model. The IPCC warns we have narrowing windows to avert the climate catastrophe. The IPBES documents biodiversity collapse. Our seas are filling with plastic, and these are not just merely our future threats, but these are our present realities affecting Filipino farmers, fisherfolk, and communities. But crisis contains opportunity. The UNDP estimates $4.5 trillion in global economic benefits from circular economy transition by 2030. The ILO forecasts 8 million new jobs worldwide. Southeast Asia alone could generate 6.6 million circular economy jobs with the right policies. So the question is not whether the Philippines will transition, but whether we will lead or follow, and whether we will ensure that the transition is just. This House Bill 315 offers a comprehensive framework anchored in 3 pillars. First, strategic clarity. The Circular Economy Strategy Framework provides a national roadmap with baseline scenarios, carrying capacity assessments, and measurable targets. The Priority Circular Economy Investment Plan identifies sectors for transition from plastics to construction to electronics. Second, technical rigor. The bill establishes detailed eco-design and product stewardship requirements. Enterprises must design for durability, repairability, and recyclability. So critical raw materials must be tackled and recovered. We have presented a 5-tiered assessment process that ensures interventions are proportionate and science-based. Third, the just transition. A dedicated chapter in the bill ensures workers and MSMEs are not left behind. Skills development, social protection, and social dialogue mechanisms guarantee that the benefits of transition are shared broadly. So this bill builds on existing laws, including RA 9003 and the EPR Act, without duplicating mandates. It assigns clear responsibilities to 14 agencies and leverages existing monitoring systems through a Climate Change Commission. And I'd also like to add, Mr. Chair, that I have reviewed the bills of my colleagues with care and respect. Chair Legarda's bill contributes valuable provisions on LGU actions and regulatory sandboxes. Representative Chuatay offers concrete circularity targets and digital traceability tools. Representative Montes emphasizes urgency in plastic phase-out timelines. So I'm open to incorporating the best provisions from each bill into a substitute measure. A circular economy interagency council, as proposed by the chair, could strengthen coordination, and specific targets, as Representative Chuatay proposes, could enhance accountability. So aggressive timelines could accelerate this impact. In closing, I'd like to say that 5 decades ago, the Philippines helped shape global environmental policy at the Stockholm Conference. My great-grand-aunt, Senator Helena Benitez, chaired the Committee on Human Settlements at this historic gathering. Today, we have this opportunity to continue that legacy by enacting legislation that transforms our economy for sustainability. This circular economy is an environmental policy, it is an economic security policy, it is a social protection policy, it is a climate adaptation policy, but really it is about building an economy that serves Filipinos without exhausting the natural systems on which all of our prosperity depends on. So I respectfully urge the committee to move this legislation forward, and I commit to working with all the authors to craft the strongest possible substitute bill. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Benitez. So at this juncture, I hereby relinquish my presiding duties to the Honorable Irene Labad-Labad as I sponsor my House Bill number 2479, which I principally authored. Okay, meeting suspended.
Meeting resumed. I now invite the Honorable Antonio B. Legarda, Jr. to sponsor House Bill number 2479.
To the honorable members of this committee, my distinguished colleagues, esteemed resource persons, and partners in government and development, good morning to everyone. Every day, the Philippines generates thousands of tons of plastic waste. For decades, we have followed a linear model, the taking resources, producing items, using them once, and discarding them. This long-standing practice has resulted in the country producing approximately 15 million tons of solid waste annually, putting increasing pressure on landfills, waterways, and coastal areas. Despite our existing laws and policies, recovery and recycling rates remain low, leading to massive environmental degradation, public health risks, and rising operational and financial burdens on local governments. This situation underscores that while we have made progress, our policy framework remains fragmented and in need of more integrated approach. In order to address this, it should be our shared goal to shift from the traditional take, make, dispose model to a sustainable circular approach that minimizes waste and maximizes resource use. The Circular Economy Promotion Act proposes systems for waste minimization, extended producer responsibility, circular procurement, and community participation in sustainable resource use. This bill's objectives include, number one, reducing waste by promoting recycling and reusing materials to minimize environmental impact. Number two, encouraging innovation by supporting industries and businesses that adopt circular practices, creating new opportunities for growth and job creation. Number three, fostering sustainable growth by helping the Philippines transition to a circular economy aligned with national and global development goals. And number four, improving public participation by encouraging community engagement and local government involvement in implementing circular economy practices. Additionally, the bill mandates the creation of an interagency council to align efforts across various sectors, including business, government, and civil society. It also establishes incentives for businesses adopting circular practices and provides a roadmap for the phased phase-out of harmful single-use plastics. In many ways, this measure not only tackles environmental issues, but also offers economic opportunities through sustainable business models. With this in mind, my honorable colleagues, I respectfully invite you to support the passage of this measure to ensure a cleaner, more resilient future for the Philippines. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Honorable Legarda. I give back the floor to Chairperson Legarda for the remainder of the meeting. Meeting suspended.
Meeting resumed. We now move to House Bill number 4142 with the Honorable Iris Marie de Mesa Montes of the Kababaihan, Kabalikatan para sa Kapakanan at Kaunlaran ng Bayan, Party List, to deliver her sponsorship speech.
Mr. Chair, esteemed colleagues, resource persons, and guests, good morning. House Bill 4142, the Philippine Circular Economy Promotion Act, is not merely about managing waste. It is about transforming our economy, our communities, and our future. For too long, we have lived under a linear model of take, make, dispose. This bill envisions a new path, one where products are designed to last, where resources are reused and regenerated, and where prosperity flourishes without harm. It is a vision of resilience where our farmers, fisher folks, workers, women, and entrepreneurs thrive in a system that values sustainability as much as growth. By phasing out single-use plastics, integrating permaculture in education and local governance, and mainstreaming circular practices in procurement and industry, we are not only protecting our environment, we are creating green jobs, empowering communities, and ensuring that future generations inherit a nation that is both prosperous and livable. This is not an abstract model or ideal. It is a practical, urgent response to climate change, marine pollution, and economic vulnerabilities. It is a call to action for a just and inclusive recovery where no Filipino is left behind. Let us pass this measure and prove that the Philippines can lead in building a circular economy, an economy that is regenerative, equitable, and truly sustainable. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Finally, we have House Bill number 5069. May we invite Honorable Katrina Rico Chuatay from the 1st District City of Zamboanga for her sponsorship.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Rep. Swanting.
I move to adopt the exploratory note as a sponsored speech of Representative Chuatay.
There's a move to adopt the explanatory note as her sponsorship remark, and it's duly seconded. The motion is carried. We now turn to our esteemed resource persons who are with us today to share their expertise, perspectives, and practical insights on the proposed Circular Economy Act, insight that will help ground our discussions and real-world experience and enrich our deliberations as we move this measure forward. To facilitate an orderly discussion, we may request each resource person to kindly state your agency or organization, as well as your name and position before proceeding with your comments or inputs. Maybe I would be able to help you with this. I'll just mention the agency, and maybe you could just state your name and position. First, we'll go with BSP, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. Morning to the members of the committee. The BSP, I am Joeline Kotchapin, Bank Officer 5, from the ESG Supervision and Surveillance Group under the Financial Supervision Sector of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. So the BSP supports the objectives of the proposed Circular Economy Act, particularly its emphasis on sustainable economic development. In this regard, we are currently finalizing our official position paper, and this will be submitted to the committee for its consideration. Thank you.
Okay. Next in line is Climate Change Commission, CCC. Representative from CCC.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning.
Attorney Megan Mateo, Officer in Charge of the Legal Services Division of the Climate Change Commission. So on the part of the CCC respectfully reiterates its support to the proposed measures on circular economy as enabling circumstances that will aid in the short, medium, and long-term goals and objectives in addressing the impacts and drivers of climate change as outlined in the National Climate Change Action Plan 2011 to 2028, the Philippine Development Plan 2023 to 2028, National Adaptation Plan, and the Nationally Determined Contribution Implementation Plan, paving the way towards a climate-smart and climate-resilient development and the promotion of sustainable resource use. At this juncture, we'd like to inform that we are still yet to submit our position paper, but of course, the CCC reaffirms our unwavering support and commitment to advancing the transition towards a circular economy and underscoring its role in addressing the multifaceted challenges posed by climate change and chartering a sustainable path toward prosperity for all. So moving forward, the CCC stands ready to working with the relevant offices in agencies, including the Congress, in strengthening and furthering enriching the rationale and the provisions of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. Our next department is Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mary Grace Mandigma from the Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Standards. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
The Department of Agriculture officially submitted its position paper last January 5, and it was acknowledged by the committee on January 13. But, Mr. Chair, we would like to use this platform to again express our support and the passage of the Circular Economy Act to promote sustainable production and consumption systems, reduce waste generation, and strengthen resource efficiency across economic sector. The department believes that the adoption of a circular economy framework is aligned with the country's goals for environmental sustainability, climate action, and food system resilience. In our submitted position paper, Mr. Chair, we did provide also a few points for refinements, hopefully, that can be considered in the proposed act. First, we would like to explicitly recognize, for the act to explicitly recognize the department's statutory mandate through the Bureau of Agriculture and Fisheries Standards in developing standards for agriculture and fishery. Second, we also recommended the establishment of a lead coordinating body to ensure accountability and prevent overlapping institutional mandates. Third, we also recommended to harmonize the definition of the circular economy with the Philippine Development Plan and the Extended Producer Responsibility Act of 2022. Fourth is to integrate food safety safeguards in the reuse and recycling of packaging materials with DA and DOH as competent authority. We would also like to share that based on the Food and Agriculture Organization's 2020 report entitled Thinking About the Future of Food Safety, the recycling of plastics used for food packaging can actually introduce chemical hazards if these are not properly regulated. So we are recommending that the committee look into the DA and DOH as the proper authorities for those regulations. And last but not the least, Mr. Chair, we recommended broadening the coverage of the policy to include other significant waste streams such as agricultural residues and electronic waste in addition to plastics. So with that, Mr. Chair, the department hopes that this recommendation can help in ensuring that the Circular Economy Act promotes not only environmental sustainability, but also safe, efficient, and resilient transformation of the agriculture and fishery sectors towards a resource-efficient future. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next is Department of Budget and Management.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, honorable members of this committee. I'm Trisha Baraan po, Director from the DBM. May we respectfully note and manifest the following initial comments po of the Bureau. of the department. First, on House Bill 315 and House Bill 4142, Sections 33 and Section 11, respectively, on incentives and rewards for the public sector. On the part of the LGUs, maybe the same may be incorporated as criteria in the Seal of Good Local Governance. And on the part of the NGAs, this would need further study, taking into consideration the following: the existing performance incentives for government employees, and the rules on savings, meaning of savings and authorization, since the provision proposes that 25% of savings generated from circular procurement and circular and green infrastructure development shall be used for payment of additional performance incentives po. And on House Bill 2479, we note the following po. On Section 16, mainstreaming circular economy in the national budget, may we respectfully note that the DBM annually issues a national budget memorandum pertaining to budget priorities, and the same is consistent with the prioritization by the DepDev. So we also further defer to the DepDev as to the prioritization and inclusion of the circular economy during the annual budget preparation po. And finally, on sections 19 and 20, on the proposed creation of Circular Economy Implementation Fund and the earmarking of 3% of the appropriations for MNE for monitoring and evaluation, may we respectfully note po the current policy of the economic managers on earmarking of funds. Hence, we have reservations on the proposed creation of the Circular Economy Implementation Fund. Nevertheless, the funding for the purpose may be included in the Annual General Appropriations Act and shall be subject to the usual budget preparation and authorization po by Congress. Thank you po, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you have a lot of insights, but we would request you to submit your position paper to the committee for us to understand and appreciate further. So our next is Department of Finance.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
I'm Attorney Jamar Uriarte from the Department of Finance, Political Liaison Group. The DOF would like to manifest that we'll be submitting our official comments on this measure, and in the meantime, we would like to note our initial comments on this. First, on the definition of terms, particularly pertaining to incentives, we suggest that the wording be made consistent with the NIRC as amended. We will submit our proposed language on this matter in our official comments. Second, we support the proposed formulation of the priority Circular Economy Investment Plan and the identification of covered activities to facilitate the transition to a circular economy. This is vital in steering this transition as it provides a strategic framework for guiding investments and initiatives aligned with environmental and circular economy principles. The identification of covered activities likewise ensures that resources are directed toward initiatives with substantial impact on sustainability and environmental preservation. Third, we note, Mr. Chair, however, that the proposed creation of a Circular Economy Hub, or CEH, may not be aligned with the Government Optimization Program, which aims to streamline bureaucracy and optimize the use of public resources. The proposed mandate and powers of this, which would entail additional costs and new appropriations, may also overlap with those of existing governance structures. Fourth, while the DOF recognizes and supports the objective of the bill to catalyze the country's transition to a circular economy, including the promotion of the phase-out of single-use plastics, we maintain that any grant of fiscal incentives must be in accordance with or consistent with the provisions of the NIRC as amended, or by Republic Act 12066, otherwise known as the Create More Law. Fifth, on circular procurement, we note that proposals should be aligned with Republic Act 12009, or the new Government Procurement Act. and with respect to the proposed allocation of 25% of savings for performance incentives of employees of national government agencies, LGUs, and SUCs, and other government entities, we submit that this may no longer be necessary, given that the government's general thrust and commitment toward climate change, adaptation and mitigation, and considering the country's high exposure to climate and disaster risks, it is imperative for the government to mainstream and integrate climate change adaptation and mitigation measures into its policies, operations, even without the provision of additional incentives. Again, Mr. Chair, the DF will submit our official comments to the committee after consolidating the submitted comments of our attached agencies also. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So we'll be looking forward for your position paper as well. Next is Department of Science and Technology.
Good morning and thank you, Mr. Chair. I am Dr. Francis Baleta, S&T Fellow and the focal person and program lead of the Science, Technology, and Innovation for Circular Economy of the Department of Science and Technology. Honorable Chairperson and distinguished members of the House Committee on Economic Affairs and the respected members of the Technical Working Group on Circular Economy, good day. We thank you for the opportunity to present our technical inputs and reiterate our support to the committee's efforts in advancing an innovation-driven, inclusive, and sustainable circular economy framework for our country. In 2024, the Department of Science and Technology institutionalized the Science, Technology, and Innovations for Circular Economy, or STI4CE framework, through a department administrative order. This framework formally recognizes circular economy as a national STI priority and mandates evidence-based policy support, technology development and verification, data-driven monitoring, and inclusive capacity building. The circular economy bills therefore build upon an existing and operational institutional foundation within the OST. We submitted our comments and inputs on October 8, 2025, and provided a supplementary comment on October 17, 2025. So the highlight of our supplementary comment includes the consolidation of the working of the different bills on circular economy, provision of scientific baselines for circular economy targets and obligations, the establishment of a national circular economy data platform, clarifications on the clear toxicological and environmental safeguards for recycling and recovery processes, inclusion of the following technical terms in the definition of terms, such as plastic, degradable plastic, degradation, and the capacity building for government and science, technology, and innovation sector. Finally, the DOST proposes to be designated as a technical lead agency for the implementation of this measure and shall have the following function. First is to serve as a technical secretariat, providing evidence-based scientific and technical advice, and leading interagency technical committees on circular economy standards and data management and technology verification. Act as the lead agency for research, development, and innovation by administering a circular economy research and development fund, innovation fund, and supporting applied research, pilot demonstration, and technology scale-ups in eco-design, recyclability, waste-to-resource, and sustainable materials. Develop and enforce science-based standards for recyclability, biodegradability, compostability, eco-labeling, and related circular economy criteria, and conduct technology verification and product testing through the DOST Industrial Technology Development Institute and other accredited laboratories. Other comments are provided. And finally, to represent the Philippines in international collaborations on circular economy, research and development, standards and capacity building, and facilitate knowledge transfer and the adoption of global best practices by local industries and communities. That would be all, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. The next is Governance Commission for GOCCs.
Honorable Chairperson Legarda, distinguished members of the Honorable Committee, esteemed colleagues in the various government agencies and guests, together with my colleague, Attorney Ashley Faye Cruz from the Governance Commission for GOCCs, we greet each one a pleasant morning. I am Attorney Maria Lourdes Lobiano Alviola from the Office of the General Counsel of the GCG, Your Honors. On behalf of the GCG, we would like to express our gratitude for the opportunity to provide our comments on the proposed measures which aim to institutionalize a circular economy framework in the Philippines. For the Honorable Committee's consideration, the agency already submitted our comments on the proposed measures last year. With the permission of the Honorable Chairperson, if I may be allowed to read from my notes, Your Honor.
Yes, you're allowed to read.
The Governance Commission, as the central advisory, monitoring, and policy coordinating body for the GOCC sector, expresses its full support for these initiatives. We recognize the critical importance of adopting circular economy models to achieve environmental sustainability and long-term national economic security. Upon our review, the GCG finds that these bills do not conflict with Republic Act No. 10149 or the GOCC Governance Act of 2011. In fact, they reinforce our objectives by advancing sustainable development and resource efficiency. To ensure seamless implementation and preserve the existing governance architecture of the GOCCs, we respectfully submit the following key considerations, and I would just be summarizing, Mr. Chair, the points that we have raised in our comments. Policy guidance and mandates for GOCC should continue to be transmitted through their respective governing boards. This ensures that directives remain coherent and aligned with established performance management frameworks. We also propose that circular economy targets such as waste reduction and green financing be integrated into existing GCG-issued performance scorecards rather than creating parallel compliance regimes. Also, under Republic Act No. 10149, the creation of any new GOCC or corporate entity contemplated under these bills must undergo review by the Governance Commission and this requires also presidential approval. The Governance Commission also recommend clear protocols for coordination between the proposed interagency councils and the GCG to ensure that any monitoring or enforcement remains programmatic rather than supervisory. To safeguard these principles, we proposed in our review of the bills the inclusion of 3 specific clauses. Number 1, the saving clause, to ensure the mandate of the GCG under RA number 10149 is not diminished. Number 2, a coordination clause, as we mentioned earlier. This is to mandate that lead agencies coordinate with the Governance Commission on all policy directives and enforcement actions involving the GOCC. So this must go through with the governing board and supervision of the GCG. Last clause that we recommend to be incorporated in the bills is a new entity clause. So this just ensures that any new entity or GOCC or corporate structure that is being created under the proposed measure would we have to evaluate if this is a creation of a new GOCC, Your Honor. These recommendations are more fully discussed, more lengthily discussed, and exhaustively in the comments that we provided, Mr. Chair. So in sum, the GCG is fully committed to enhancing our institutional capacity to monitor these programs and assisting GOCCs in adopting circular procurement and sustainability standards. We defer to the collective wisdom of this committee regarding the passage of these bills and remain ready to collaborate to ensure their successful implementation. For the GCG, Your Honors, that would be all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. The next is National Academy of Science and Technology.
Good morning. Your Honor,
Good morning,
Chair
ma'am. Yes.
and committee members of Economic Affairs, the National Academy of Science and Technology has submitted its official position to the committee last October 2025. But for now, I just want to appeal that the committee facilitate this passage of a very important bill and the consolidation of the 4 bills that have been submitted to the committee. And perhaps, well, this bill is very important for the sustainable development of the Philippines and for the survival of the country. And I think it's facing the climate change challenge. And I suggest that to consolidate all the bills and the comments, to facilitate their consolidation and look at the its relation to the other previous laws that have been passed, that we use AI as a tool in this to facilitate these things.
Yeah, we'll take that. Mom, are you finished with your? Okay, yeah, we'll take that into consideration, the AI usage. So next we have our PPP Center.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and honorable members of the committee. Mr. Chair, we sent our position paper last October 30, but if I may be allowed to just provide a quick summary of the points that we raised. So first and foremost, we would like to convey our support for the objectives of the bill. We do have some suggestions to refine the bills, Mr. Chair. So first would be to, in the definition of green financing, to consider the already existing definitions of green financing and alternative sources of financing under Republic Act number 11966, or the PPP Code of the Philippines, which became effective in December of 2023. And last, Mr. Chair, is regarding the cited role of the PPP Center in Section 10 of House Bill 2479 and Section 9 of House Bill 4142. We would just like to suggest some improvements that could provide clarity on the cited role of the PPP Center there, also with the objective of ensuring alignment with RA 11966. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next is the U.S. ASEAN Business Council.
Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning.
First of all, Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce the council. So the U.S. ASEAN Business Council is a U.S. nonprofit that represents around 190 U.S. companies that operate in ASEAN. So my role here is the chief representative to the Philippines. On behalf of the council and its members, we'd like to express our gratitude to the committee for inviting us to this hearing and for receiving our comments on the substitute bill on circular economy that we submitted last year. We have also submitted our industry input last November 27, 2025 to Your Honor, Representative Legarda Jr. We highlight the 4 points of our inputs around the harmonization and consistency to the expanded Producer Responsibility Act and the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, alignment with the EPR framework, making the same incentive-based and phased in implementation, and ensuring predictability. We also note that we express appreciation for the Philippines' pioneering and leadership in this field, as the first in the ASEAN to have an EPR law framework in place. The circular economy framework is a step in another pioneering step in the right direction. And we'd like to share that during the 57th ASEAN Economic Ministers meeting in September 2025, we encouraged ASEAN to initiate discussions on developing an ASEAN Regional Circular Economy Framework Agreement, or CEFA, during the Philippines chairship this year. A formal CEFA would help harmonize standards, strengthen mutual recognition arrangements, and support consistent implementation across the region, which can enhance each nation's efforts to attract investment in circular economy activities. We are happy to provide more inputs as the bill progresses in the lower house, and we would like to further see the consolidated bill and provide more input as would be required. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you very much. The next is the Philippine Alliance for Recycling and Materials Sustainability.
Good morning.
Yes, sir.
I'm Jess Reyes, the Executive Director and Interim President of the Philippine Alliance for Recycling and Materials Sustainability. So, PARMS extends its sincere gratitude to the Committee on Economic Affairs for the opportunity to provide our inputs. We have submitted our position paper in October 2025. I hope you received it, but yeah, okay, thank you. So, as a multi-stakeholder coalition of industry leaders, civil society, and environmental advocates, PARMS has worked tirelessly to help operationalize the EPR law in alignment with circular economy principles. So as we enter the third year of compliance, we are proud to report that our members have consistently exceeded the mandated recovery targets. In fact, to the support of our investing partners, PARMS has developed its own Zero Waste to Nature roadmap, complemented by technical standards and guidelines to guide implementation efforts and foster accountability, transparency, and innovation across the value chain. So we'd like to highlight a few points of what we covered in our position paper. So we wanted to appreciate several key provisions in HB 315, viewing the establishment of a circular economy strategy framework paired with a priority CE investment plan as a valuable policy approach for long-term green development. We particularly welcome the provisions that encourage eco-innovation, source reduction, sustainable consumption, and improve waste management through recommendations rather than mandatory or rather than mandates for industry adoption. Furthermore, the explicit emphasis on circular economy, investments, and the clarity provided by listing institutional support mechanisms like DepDev, DNR, and DTI are seen as beneficial for clarifying government rules and facilitating the bill's goals. But we also wanted to seek guidance and support on the following key issues. First is on clarity and flexibility in definitions. We hope that the draft bill must ensure that technical definitions are consistent with globally recognized standards, particularly clarifying the scope for materials considered for bans or phase-outs. Definitions should be kept flexible to allow for new discoveries and technical sustainability innovations to remove packaging from scope if it is made more eco-friendly. Second, prerequisite infrastructure for mandates. We strongly recommend that any major bans or restrictions be made conditions upon the presence of the necessary infrastructure, supply chain, and demand. Circular economies are only functional when packaging sustainability innovations can be collected and properly processed to return them into the value chain. And last, safeguarding market integrity and consumer choice. We also hope that the introduction of eco-innovations should not lead to measures that negatively impact market competitiveness or result in the loss of consumer choice. Furthermore, changes should not compromise product quality, safety, or efficacy in the pursuit of more sustainable packaging. Maraming salamat.
Salamat. And second to the last is UN Development Programs Philippines. UNDP.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Gwyneth Palmos, Program Analyst from the Climate Action Team of UNDP Philippines. We would like to thank the committee for inviting UNDP as resource person here. Thank you so much for this opportunity. If you'd allow me to just go through some of the key messages that we've put forward. Also, we've submitted our comments also to the committee this morning. So first, we would like to commend the Congress for advancing multiple measures that recognize circular economy not only as an environmental response to waste and pollution, but as a broader economic transformation strategy for competitiveness, resilience, job creation, and climate action. These bills reflect an important shift in perspective that circularity is not simply about managing waste better, but about redesigning how our economy produces, consumes, and creates value. This direction is both timely and strategic. Global evidence underscores the urgency of this action. The 2025 Circularity Gap Report shows that global circularity has declined from 7.2% to 6.9%, meaning that more than 90% of materials entering the global economy are still virgin resources that are extracted, used once, and discarded. While recycling and secondary materials are increasing slowly, they are being outpaced by rising consumption and continued resource extraction, which has more than tripled over the last 50 years and now exceeds 100 billion tons annually. And the same report also shows that the greatest opportunities for reducing material use, waste, and greenhouse gas emissions are concentrated in 4 key systems. One is on food system, another is on the built environment, third is on manufactured goods and consumables, and lastly on mobility and transport. For the Philippines, circular economy is therefore not only an environmental agenda, it is increasingly an industrial and competitiveness agenda. It is closely linked to the success of the extended producer responsibility system, the role of local governments in solid waste and resource management, MSME development and modernization, the PAP for SCP, and our commitments under the nationally determined contribution. Would like to also add that the circular economy principles are currently being integrated in the updated NDC, which UNDP has supported. So the circular economy law can really reinforce and operationalize these commitments through clear mandates, financing, and measurable delivery mechanisms. As for UNDP, we've been advocating, promoting circular economy in the Philippines and been providing support at the national, subnational level. And we would be happy to share our work further on this, even the knowledge materials also that we've produced. But also, just wanted to also highlight that we helped the drafting of the first iteration of the circular economy framework, which aimed to guide how circularity can be operationalized across sectors. So maybe this can also be considered as a reference in terms of the enhancement of the bill. It went through a rigorous also process of consultations. I understand DNR also is leading in its updating, so it would be good to also align it. But also just highlighting that without an enabling law, efforts remain fragmented, LGUs operate unevenly, financing is uncertain, data is incomplete, and private investment remains cautious. So this legislation can provide the policy certainty, coordination, accountability required to connect and scale what already exists. So I'd like to just highlight the key considerations in terms of strengthening the circular economy bill. First is there should be an established clear governance mechanism, institutional leadership, and accountability, primarily because circular economy spans multiple agencies: environment, industry, trade, finance, local government, labor, and education. So a strong coordinating mechanism with defined authority, clear mandates, and adequately resourced technical secretariat will be essential to prevent fragmentation. Also, the law should frame circular economy as an economy-wide systems transition, not only as a solid waste strategy, and should address also and prioritize upstream and midstream levers.
as mentioned earlier, policies that focus only on bans or downstream diversions are unlikely to achieve transformational change. System redesign should be prioritized over simple substitution. Also, the law should translate principles into action through sector-specific circular economy roadmaps for high-impact sectors such as built environment, food and agriculture, plastics and packaging, textiles, electronics, healthcare, mobility, energy, and cities. Tourism and MICE also are increasingly showing great potential in integrating circularity as well. So these roadmaps should include clear targets, timelines, investment needs, and enabling policies. Also, the strategies must be linked to financing and procurement. Experience shows that plans alone are insufficient unless paired with dedicated funding, fiscal and non-fiscal incentives, and circular public procurement. Government purchasing power can immediately create demand for circular economy products and services, and can prioritize locally manufactured goods and MSMEs, helping build domestic circular markets. The operationalization of the new Government Procurement Act would be an important enabler here. Some of our partner LGUs are developing local or green or sustainable procurement policies already, so this can be actually an important move. Also, on financing, predictable financing mechanisms are really essential. As proposed in the bill, a circular economy transition fund complemented by blended finance and incentives can accelerate investment in CE infrastructure and systems, and also really promote MSME innovation and new circular enterprises. On local governments and MSMEs, they must be supported as frontline implementers. While it is crucial that large companies and major producers transition towards circular design, production, responsibility at scale, many circular practices on the ground are already being implemented and often led by MSMEs and local enterprises. Cities and municipalities likewise play a central role in terms of really transitioning to CE. A tiered or phased transition approach may therefore be appropriate for feasibility, but it must be paired with targeted support such as technical assistance, standardized tools, shared service facilities, simplified compliance pathways, and access to finance so that LGUs and MSMEs can realistically comply, participate, and compete. Also, to consider establishing national sectoral scorecards for LGUs and industries can also help track progress, strengthen accountability, and also incentivize performance and continuous improvement. Also, we are proposing to institutionalize measurable targets and monitoring systems with clear indicators, baselines, and regular monitoring and reporting systems supported by digital tracking. Also, it must be anchored in a just and inclusive transition that protects livelihoods while deliberately creating green and decent jobs. Because circularity will reshape industry, supply chains, and local enterprises, policy should ensure that the benefits of the transition are widely shared and that no sector or community is left behind. So this means providing reskilling and upskilling, formalization, social protection, safer working conditions, and improved access to finance, technology, and markets. Also would like to add that the transition should proactively develop green skills and future-ready competencies aligned with the Philippine Green Jobs Law, with TESDA, DepEd, SHED, and PRC, embedding circular economy principles into education, technical training, and professional standards. And lastly, for innovation, behavioral change, and local solutions, they should be actively supported with regulatory sandboxes and innovation hubs that can allow safer experimentation and scaling of new business models. There are emerging LGU initiatives such as the Innovation for Circular Economy Hub being developed in Pasig, illustrate how local experimentation can inform also national policy. So this can also be complemented with communication, capacity building, and recognition of indigenous and traditional practices that are equally important to drive behavioral and cultural change. With that, we remain available at your disposal. We'd be happy to support the further process. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. We would also ask you to submit your position paper. So that could help us with our technical working group that will be formed. So lastly, we have our Department of Environment and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. I'm Joel Lambabia from the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Environmental Management Bureau, Legal Division, and National Ecology Center interim personnel who is tasked to implement the EPR law. So, being the department being the steward of for the environment in the Philippines, we highly support the passage of this Circular Economy Act. However, we reserve our comment if needed be, if there will be a overlapping or duplication or possible harmonization with the existing EPR law on this proposed bill. Yan lang po, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. We just learned that Department of Internal and Local Government, the ALG, just sent us a message that they can't make it, but they will be submitting their position paper to this committee. So after, and TESDA, we have TESDA here, a representative from TESDA.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and the rest of the honorable members of the committee. For TESDA po, we fully support the intentions of House Bill numbers 315, 2479, 4142, and 5069. TESDA po recognizes the shift to circular economy will significantly transform our industries, occupations, and skills requirements. Currently po, we are finalizing our official position paper, but if Mr. Chair, we could share as well to the committee that aside from the integration of green skills in training regulations and competency standards, we have recently developed and launched the Circular Awareness course in the TESDA online program. And as of December 2025, we have 3,925 enrollments and 2,553 completers po. And for the competency standards on solid waste management operations level 3 po, we have already developed and trained 27 regional lead trainers po. So we fully support po the circular economy House Bill initiatives po, and fully will submit our official position paper. Thank you po.
Thank you. Now that we have already listened to all our guests yes. Can you state your agency and your name, please, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And of course, good morning to our committee members and secretariat. I'm Sonny Domingo, Senior Fellow from the Philippine Institute for Development Studies. We have actually submitted our initial comments on the proposed bills, but we'll be submitting possibly a supplementary paper after this meeting.
Excuse me, we didn't hear you. Can you state again your name and your agency?
Sonny Domingo, PIDS, Philippine Institute for Development Studies, Senior Fellow. So may I continue, Mr. Chair?
Yes, you can continue.
So as I've mentioned earlier, we have submitted our initial comments to the proposed bills on the passing of this very important legislation on circular economy. We fully support, we echo the support manifested by our colleagues here in terms of us crafting this harmonized, consolidated draft of this very important legislation. Let me just reiterate from our initial comments the need to localize and harmonize the definition and framing of circular economy itself. Because if you're going to look at the available literature, there are so many options for us. And I think the different bills also presented different manifested definitions of circular economy. PIDS recently passed, we recently published an amended discussion paper on circular economy, defining and framing CE in the context of our domestic setting and landscape. I think, we think that this legislation is the natural progressive course after, of course, the three major legislations we have related to this, the law on toxic, hazardous, and nuclear wastes, the 2000 Ecological Solid Waste Integrity Act, and of course the 2012 EPR, Extended Producer's Responsibility Act. CE should be an expanded version of EPR. EPR amended the 2000 law on eco-solid waste management, but I think we need a broader framing of the same. Just last week, we had a meeting with certain industry stakeholders from the lead-acid battery subsector, and that one is not covered under EPR because we only flagged plastics and packaging for that amendment of our initial law. So I think having that broader approach, as reflected in EPR, as reflected in this proposed bill, should be also included. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other members or guests here that are not heard? Yes, from DepEd. Yes, sir.
Morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark Magsalin from the Department of Education. Maybe just to the good points already mentioned by the rest of the resource persons about the proposed bill. DepEd stands in support of the bill, and just to mention that there are already existing natural entry points in our curriculum where certain principles of CE can be integrated, and we are ready to strengthen, contextualize, and provide teacher capacity building activities to further promote and operationalize the bill once it is passed into law. So again, we shall submit our official position paper in this regard, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any other agency who's not called yet? Okay. Now that we have heard from all the invited agencies, we might ask, I just want to ask the members of the committee who has questions.
Mr. Chair, can I be recognized?
Thank
you, Mr. Chair. Good morning again to our esteemed colleagues and our distinguished guests. While we aim to minimize waste, let us view these bills through the lens of climate mitigation. So I'd like to direct some questions sa ating mga resource persons from the Climate Change Commission, Mr. Chair. Una po, how does this comprehensive framework enhance the existing Extended Producer Responsibility Act, the EPR Act? Will your commission, the CCC, be the lead agency in harmonizing the circularity targets of private companies with our National Climate Change Action Plan? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
CCC, you may reply. The representative from CCC can reply.
Good morning po. Thank you po, Mr. Chair. I am Emmanuel Causon from the Climate Change Commission, Development Management Officer 2 from the Implementation Oversight Division. I am and also the technical focal leading for the waste sector in the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory, both in the national level and local level. So for the EPR law and the monitoring of its implementation, the CCC actually is not leading the implementation and monitoring of it. It is actually the DNR who is leading the implementation of the EPR. The CCC puts value addition to circular economy in a sense that we look into it that circular economy is integrated in the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory of the Philippines. So with the existence of circular economy and EPR law in the Philippines, we will be expecting a decrease in greenhouse gas emissions coming from the waste sector. Thank you po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that response. Marami po kasi sa mga LGUs ang nahirapan mag-implement ng Republic Act 9003 o yung Solid Waste Management Act. Dahil po sa kakalungan ng pasilidad, we lack really facilities. Paano po makakatulong sa kanila ang CCC sa pag-translate ng circularity sa local climate change action plans? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
CCC, you can reply.
Thank you po, Mr. Chair. If I may respond po, with that po, the CCC is actually supporting LGUs in the implementation of 9003 by first encouraging them to develop or to have their updated waste analysis characterization. So with that, we will be elevating it for them to do community-level greenhouse gas inventory. So with this po, not only encouraging them to account what is being produced sa kanilang LGU, but also depende rin po kasi siya kung ang isang LGU nasa kanya yung landfill, kasi kung meron po siyang partnership with other LGUs, so doon po talaga papasok yung waste. So with having an updated WACS or waste analysis characterization study, so LGUs could really understand kung ano-anong waste yung na-generate at kung ano-anong waste yung pumapasok sa kanilang LGUs. And with that, strategically, we could now target kung anong policy, kung anong pwede pong intervention magagawa natin for biodegradables, for plastics, for recyclables. So the climate change po stands firm on supporting EPR law and circular economy po. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that response. I would like to ask our executive friends from the DILG or DNR or DOST here regarding sa implementation ng materials recovery facilities at the local level. Our LGUs are the frontliners on this transition. Paano kapag ang LGUs ay, more particularly those belonging to the 5th and 6th class, wala silang pondo po for basic MRR project. Can we expect them to manage a complex circular ecosystem? Anybody from the executive department here? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Maybe DNR can reply.
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is the realities of the Philippines. No? Not all barangays, although all the barangays are mandated to construct and operate their own MRF, but the realities of the Philippines, not all the barangays have its MRF. To mention is the barangays that are located in Manila district, whose land area is very restricted, and some of the third-class municipalities or fourth-class municipalities also have the predicament on the operating their own MRF. However, that is not the most common problem. The problem is how to really manage the budget. Well, we cannot do anything to the barangays that are land restricted. But the department or the solid waste management division is formulating this kind of tactic on how to establish a central MRF for 5 barangays in Manila to be operated collectively by all of them. But on the 5th class municipalities, the department are extending our finance aid to them for them to comply with the mandates of RA 9003.
Thank you. Is there any other agency who would like to reply? Yes, from Farms. Engineer Reyes.
I've seen a municipality which is not so well off that have established MRFs even if they don't have a lot of funding, they don't have a lot of space. Look at Teresa Rizal. They don't have funds to for the tipping fee for the solid waste. So they establish a central MRF, and they have also MRFs in the different barangays, and their management of solid waste is working. So resources is not probably the major issue here. Probably the major issue is the leadership itself, the willpower.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I fully support that sentiment from our honorable member of Congress. Prior to the pandemic, we actually did a study on 9003, its grounding. And one of the, I think, the most notable results that we saw via that study is that weak link in terms of LGUs having so much responsibilities on their shoulders in grounding 9003. So it took more than 2 decades for substantial accomplishments to be manifested within our eco-solid waste management sector. And that's because so many of our less endowed LGUs were unable to ground this policy. So I think EPR, and if ever CE, if it's going to be passed, should address that weakness of the initial policy. LGUs that are less endowed must be given enough support and resources for them to contribute substantially to the grounding of policy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
can I also add to the discussion and respond? I think the circular economy is actually the missing piece in the implementation of RA 9003. No, often it is required na barangay to have that MRFs, right? But the problem now there is often the MRF becomes a dumping ground only because there is no mechanism by which we turn plastics and waste into something else. But with the circular economy, there we will be able to come up, or there is going to be an industry that will evolve, that will turn these plastics into, for instance, meron na po ngayon yung blocks. Instead of cement blocks, they use plastics for that. So instead of filling the landfill with plastics, we can transform that into another product. Yun po yata yung kulang. And the circular economy bill, I think, will address that loophole. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that insight, Rep. Montes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for salamat sa mga tugon po niyo. Isa na lang po, at biyan sa pag-manage sa ating mga basura. How will this proposed comprehensive framework fundamentally shape our industrial strategy toward low carbon future? Can we ask the OST here, Mr. Chair?
DOST. Dr. Valete. Sorry, Dr. Baleta.
Yes, good morning po. So, actually regarding dun sa question po, how are we going to enable through the framework itself? Right. So, actually for us, the Science, Technology, and Innovation for Circular Economy framework is mandated to conduct a comprehensive research and innovation on how to sustainably manage, but not only manage this waste, but prevent the accumulation of this particular waste even before, even during the process of production, even before we undergo the process. It is it is a part of our implementation plan to systemically design processes that eliminate waste, particularly. So, ganun po yung sa framework po namin, even before magkaroon tayo ng process, we are thinking of ways on how to particularly replace materials that would maximize the utilization of natural resources and eliminate waste starting from during the process po. Ganun yung exactly na concern para hindi na natin problemahin yung waste. So, sir, in addition po, through our STI4CE framework, may 4 na implementation strategy po doon. So, we already provided a copy of this po. Thank you.
May I yield the floor to Ms. Gwen Palmas of UNDP.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you would also allow me to respond to the question, just to add to Dr. Baleta's point. When it comes to implementing circular economy principles, kasi the priority is really reducing, designing products with preventing waste.
Okay.
At the onset pa lang. So, supposedly, ang focus rin, while of course we look at how we make use of the product waste para mag-cycle back siya sa system, but the priority is really to prevent and avoid waste from the very first place then. So with that, we'll be able to reduce the material utilization, and with that, malaki na yung ma-generate, ma-reduce also the greenhouse gas emissions, and that contributes to really the low carbon development pathway. And then with the circulation of the materials also, but depending on the processes, there's huge potential to really reduce yung generation also ng GHG emissions, because we're preventing the extraction of raw materials. So yun po, and maybe just to also quickly add also on how this links to the local government units. For UNDP, we've been working together with the government agency partners here, the LGDNR. We've been working with a number of local government units, and a number of them really have been championing circular economy at the local level. And because they see the potential, because it has economic value when it comes to pursuing circularity. It can create jobs in local businesses, and ultimately would help them in terms of waste management. But really, the economic opportunities it brings, yun yung parang nagiging value addition talaga ng circularity agenda, especially at the local level. So we can really optimize then the use of the waste management infrastructure. We can make full use of, say, the MRFs. And like I mentioned earlier, Pasig has this innovation for circular economy hub na they're going beyond utilizing as an MRF. Parang they're using it as a demonstration site also in terms of developing, creating circular products, and also furthering your research and innovation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that response. I would like to ask DNR here, or anybody from our resource speakers. Mr. Chair, how do we regulate products to ensure they are actually recyclables and not just labeled as such? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
DNR, you can reply.
Mr. Chairman, for the department, the way we monitor things on the management of solid waste, on the materials itself, is on, or will be needing to pass a policy standard on how the materials are being made, how are they being manufactured, produced, and how are they being managed as being discarded. As of now, the EPR law is concentrated on plastic packaging waste only. Plastic packaging, and that does not include the plastic product that is packaged within the packaging. So the EPR law is specific only on the plastic packaging of a product. So that is the only standard that we have right now. Is an existing policy.
Is there anyone who would like to add? I mean, I could hear some of you having your own conversation there.
Yes, I'm Lourdes Cruz from the National Academy of Science and Technology. An example of a circular economy, perhaps, is the use of agricultural waste for the production of energy and like production of methane, and the CO2 produced can also be used to produce methane for energy. And as far as I think science and technology should Department of Science and Technology should do more research in order to study how they can be truly recycled to desirable products. And I feel that AI should be used in trying to analyze each of the provisions or each of the recommendations with respect to their intended consequences and unintended consequences, because sometimes the unintended consequences may be very harmful to the economy.
Okay, thank you.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong mga naging tugon.
I think Engineer Reyes from PARMS would also like to share.
On your question on the specifications or the how can you distinguish what is biodegradable, recyclable? So I know that there is a group in DTI, the Bureau of Product Standards, that provides the specifications. Some are already developed, some are still under development, and they can provide us with guidance on what really constitutes recyclable, biodegradable, D4R, etc.
Ms. Gwen Palmas, you'd like to add something?
Yeah, sorry. Just to also quickly add, as has been surfaced also in a lot of the platforms that UNDP has been facilitating, there's really a need to establish standards for the recyclability of materials, particularly even yung, especially for food packaging, for example, or even for non-food. And I would also, so that will be handled, that will have to be led by BPS under DTI together with the government agencies, but also would like to highlight the important role of FDA, who ensures yung safety ng mga products, especially yung mga made of recyclates. And I think they're now engaged in terms of establishing certain guidelines, especially for non-food. But I think the food packaging one is a bit trickier, which might need, I guess, further support also. Kasi medyo tricky in terms of ensuring the food safety and yung quality also ng mga food products.
Thank you. I think from the OST, Dr. Baleta.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. In addition to the response of national scientist crews that the Department of Science and Technology should also lead, particularly in the development of these standards, the department now has the biodegradability, ecotoxicity, and compostability, or the BEC laboratory, which can be used to check if the certain products or materials are indeed biodegradable, compostable, and safe for consumption. So, aside from this one, we are also proposing the development of circular economy metrics. It is included in our ongoing policy research for transition to circular economy, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Probably that's the caution we have to observe in crafting the CE policy, because 9003 for one is already a very good basic law. And yet, there were a lot of complications in terms of grounding that quite simple policy. EPR is very progressive, amending 9003, and although it's limited to our obliged enterprises, in CE, we are actually targeting a higher level of outcome, which is designing waste out of systems. And that's another layer of complication. So I think us being more specific in terms of grounding tenets within the policy and actually identifying coverage, as mentioned in the proposed bills, covered enterprises as the expanded coverage from EPR. So just to have that clarity in terms of target, clarity in terms of grounding tenets, I think are required in the eventual passing of this very important legislation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments? Yes. Yes, ma'am.
From the Department of Agriculture again. So we just like to echo the position that was expressed by our colleague from the UNDP, but we would like to zero in not just on the standards development, but on the regulation of recycled plastics. So that being said, Mr. Chair, we strongly recommend the conduct of food safety research. It's very important for us to ensure that recycled food packaging material that will come in contact directly with food will not jeopardize or the safety of the food itself. We also recommend that in the conduct of studies, we do conduct also analytical testings and not only develop appropriate standards, but regulations around its use. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, ma'am, can you state your agency again?
I'm Myra Magabilin from the Bureau of Philippine Standards under the Department of Trade and Industry. We manage the technical committee that develops the standard on plastics, particularly the compostable and biodegradable plastics. We already have the standards. We are drafting the technical regulations for the implementation, And we thank DOST for the support because they have the facility to test whether the product is compostable and biodegradable. So, Chair, the technical regulations is being drafted at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Yes, sir. From
Climate Change Commission po.
Okay.
Sir, not only, if I may share po, not only, let's not limit ourselves with plastics, for example, or recyclables. So let's try to expand this wherein we could actually hype the market, because if the market is existing, then the private sector will be very interested in investing on improving, taking all these recyclables in the circulation, making them really putting it in the picture of circular economy. This is a common practice being used by developed countries. So this Philippines could actually might look into promoting this kind of market in the system. Thank you.
Anybody else from other agencies would like to comment? No one? Concreto, do you still have other questions?
Wala na po. Maraming salamat po sa inyong mga tugon. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I just have, maybe I'll just shorten this now. I just have a question from BSP. Now, with this in mind now, what are the role that the thematic or the finance instruments like green bonds play in supporting circular economy investments envisioned in these bills? From BSP.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For this purpose, we issued Sustainable Finance Regulations, the Sustainable Finance Framework in 2020, which is the overarching framework for embedding or integrating sustainability principles in the operations of banks. And we note that there are banks that already issued green bonds and other types of sustainable bonds, especially with the incentives also that we issued. So with the circular economy is one of the possible channels or areas that these sustainable bonds or green bonds can finance. And the technicalities or the definitions that will be provided in the Circular Economy Act will clarify or provide a clear guidance for the banks in financing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For Department of Finance, DOF, I just have a question about the tax policy or incentives that can calibrate or encourage circular economy investments while safeguarding our fiscal sustainability.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we recognize that. However, as we mentioned before, we want that to be in line with the Create More law. There are incentives provided that in that law, and it is our policy that it must be in line with that law and with the NIRC.
Okay, thank you. Well, no other questions from our members of the committee. I only have 2 members left. So, to ensure the issues raised today are properly addressed and that the proposed measure is refined in a consultative and responsive manner, what is the pleasure of the body?
Mr. Chair, I move for the creation of a technical working group to study and refine the substitute bill of the proposed Circular Economy Act to be chaired by Honorable Benetes with Representatives Labad-Labad, Biloso, Tuason, Nasal, Swansing, Mike Tan, and yours truly as members, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion duly seconded, and hearing no objections, the motion to create a TWG to study and refine the proposed Circular Economy Act is carried. The TWG shall be tasked to consolidate the comments, recommendations, and policy inputs raised during this hearing, harmonize the various versions and stakeholders' positions, and work towards strengthening the bill's provisions, particularly on implementation, institutional coordination, and transitional mechanisms. The TWG shall be composed of representatives from the concerned government agencies, so babalik po kayo, the principal authors and sponsors, the committee secretariat, the relevant stakeholders from the private sector, civil society, and the academe, as may be necessary. The committee secretariat is hereby directed to coordinate the convening of the TWG and to circulate the schedule, scope of work, and initial discussions points. So is there any other matter the members wish to discuss? By two members.
I move, Mr. Chair, for the adjournment. Favorite motion.
Second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, this meeting is hereby adjourned.